Colin was right.
The Seattle Seahawks, many stories reported they were going to hire an in-house candidate to replace Clint Kubiak, the excellent coordinator. They did not. They must have been listening. We are not fans. When you replace a great coordinator, offense or defense, do not go in-house. That is not the best candidate. It's the most comfortable candidate. But the Lions just figured that out after losing Ben Johnson. They went instead and hired a guy in his 40s, don't know much about him, San Francisco tight end coach. Guy's got a lot of experience. Brian Fleury. So again, is he going to work? We're not sure. But they did not go, and we've been talking about how well run the Seahawks are. They did not go with a popular or comfortable in-house candidate.
Well, let's be clear about one thing right off the bat. The Detroit Lions hired Ben Johnson, and he was already within the organization. So just so we're all on the same page about that, ultimately the entire process comes down to hiring the best man for the job. That's what it's really about at the end of the day. Whether that candidate is already inside the building, whether they're coming from the college ranks, whether they're poached from a different NFL team, whatever the case may be, you have to do your due diligence. That's what it comes down to, man. You conduct the interviews, you have the conversations, and then you make the decision to hire the person you believe is most qualified. Now, to Colin's point, a lot of times these organizations hire someone who is not necessarily the best person for the job, right? They'll hire someone from inside the building because it feels a little bit more comfortable. There's a familiarity there. They have extensive knowledge of the current operation, the personnel, the systems in place. Everybody knows each other already, and the thinking becomes, yeah, let's hire him. I think we'll be able to kind of pick up where we left off without missing a beat. And that's exactly what Colin was getting at. But I don't think it's a hard and fast rule that you should never hire from within. If you have a Ben Johnson inside the building, well, then you hire him. That's just that clear, right? That's how it works sometimes. So that's just the reality of the situation. I think Brady with the Bills was also an internal promotion when he became the offensive coordinator. Obviously, later when he went from offensive coordinator to head coach, that's a different dynamic. But yeah. So anyway, I'm interested to see how the Seattle Seahawks shape up with their new offensive coordinator hire. I have way more confidence in the defense, obviously having that continuity and being able to recapture the magic they had this past season. The offense, though, is full of question marks right now. Cooper Kupp is getting older. You just lost Clint Kubiak to the New Orleans Saints. And I beg you, Seattle Seahawks fans, please don't downplay the significance of losing a coach. Don't do what the Lions did. Don't do what the Eagles did. Don't do what the Buccaneers did. Every great team or quarterback that had a lot of success in one year with a great coach or coordinator, then lost that coach or coordinator, things didn't quite look the same the following season. Now, again, I'm not saying that the Seahawks aren't going to be able to hit the ground running or have a ton of success. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just trying to emphasize that it's hard. It's not the easiest thing to do to just replace a coordinator and expect everything to function at the exact same level. The beautiful thing, though, is that you do have Mike Macdonald as your head coach, and that defense should be pretty intact, healthy, young, connected, and operating at a high level of experience. And that alone now takes massive pressure off of the offense, not unlike what happened with the Philadelphia Eagles this past season. The Eagles obviously were never able to right the ship offensively for large stretches, but because of what they looked like defensively, they were able to win a lot of games and win the division and not put all that pressure on the offense to carry the load. They were able to basically tell the offense, just don't turn the ball over, right? Just give us one good half and we'll be able to win some games. The Lions, on the other hand, did not have that benefit of the doubt. Their offense did have problems after Ben Johnson left, and they weren't able to win consistently. They weren't even able to get out of the division, let alone make it back to the playoffs, right? So that is arguably the best thing that this Seahawks team has going for them in an offseason and heading into a season where there are genuine question marks. There are genuine questions about how do we continue to evolve this offense and be great. We know we've got the defense taken care of, but offensively, you're literally bringing in a new person now, right? You're bringing a new mind into the building and saying, run our offense, call the plays. There are going to be obstacles, just like there were with Clint Kubiak. And I was a big believer in Clint Kubiak, but even I had moments where I was like, stop with the trickery. I've said this now a million times because it still makes me angry, even though they won the Super Bowl and got away with it. I'm just like, what are you doing? What are you doing with some of these bizarre play calls? And Colin reported that Mike McDonald was pretty much like, no, 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 enough of that. And whether that's true or not, who knows? But it illustrates that even someone who I obviously respect and who obviously helped get you to win a Super Bowl still kind of had some growing pains, so to speak, right? So I'm just curious to see what this all looks like. I don't have strong feelings either way at this point. I try to reserve my opinions. When I say I believe something is going to be successful, or I believe something is going to be great or bad, I really want it to be based on evidence. I want it to be based on concrete observations. And that's why, when it came to Kevin Patullo with the Eagles, and oh man, I completely forgot the coordinator's name for the Lions. Morton? I think Morton is his name. I was like, I don't know. I genuinely didn't know what to expect, and I had my reservations. But I was really excited about Clint Kubiak, and I was really excited about Liam Cohen, right? I had confidence in those coaching changes. In this situation with the Seahawks and their new offensive coordinator hire, I don't have a strong sense one way or the other. I really don't. Lots of things can look good on paper or bad on paper, but you just don't know how they'll translate to actual game day. So to me, it's also about what else are they doing in the run game. Is Kenneth Walker staying? Is he leaving? What's the plan at running back? And since their defense is so legit right now, I'm interested in their overall offseason strategy. I don't know what you do in this offseason, in the draft, and in free agency. Do you double down, triple down, quadruple down on defense and say, this defense is so amazing. Let's make it even more amazing? Like, let's just be the most dominant defense we could possibly be, with absolute depth at every position and everything? Or are you saying, you know what? No, let's go all in on offense this offseason. Our defense is so legit, so great, and we have such confidence in our head coach, Mike McDonald, in being able to navigate any of the obstacles that we're obviously going to face throughout the course of a season. Injuries, whatever. Let's go all in on the offense and really add some juice to this team. Like, let's really be able to play some bully ball offensively and allow someone like Sam Darnold to be even more aggressive, to throw the ball even more downfield, whatever it may be. I don't know. When you win the Super Bowl and you have a great team and a young team, it's just like, what do you do? I honestly don't know. It's obviously a tricky thing that all teams deal with, and it also depends on how many players you lose because you can't afford to pay everyone. It doesn't seem like the Seahawks are really at the mercy of that as much as, say, the Rams were in the past, or the Eagles were, or the Chiefs were. The way this team was kind of built, and some of the contracts they have, and a big part of that is not paying Sam Darnold $230 million. So that goes an incredibly long way in terms of cap flexibility. So I think it'll probably have more to do with the roster construction itself than the offensive coach they hired. But I do think, based on my belief of how well-run the Seahawks organization is, I do believe ultimately, and this is where I'll kind of just emphasize what Colin said, I do believe ultimately that they hired the person who they just felt was the best candidate for them, the person who can put this team in a position to continue to win. And they're not overthinking that process. At this point, you do have an experienced quarterback in Sam Darnold, right? You do have that connection and chemistry with, again, Cooper Kupp, Jackson Smith-Njigba, etc. So there is plenty to build off of. And I do think it'll be a lot more seamless of a potential transition than what the Eagles had or what the Lions had as the two most recent examples of losing coordinators after successful seasons. The Eagles' situation, their offensive line really kind of just collapsed in a lot of ways. And the Lions, so much of their offense was riding on the magic of Ben Johnson and this and that, and they were trying to recapture that. But you're essentially trying to recapture Ben Johnson, and it's like, no. You need a coach who's going to be confident in being able to run the offense as he sees it, right? He has to be comfortable in his own scheme and his own play-calling identity. You can't just try to copy and paste what someone else did. It just doesn't work that way. You can build from a system. As we all know, he runs a Shanahan offense. He runs whatever offense. You can still have flavors of that, but you still kind of have to find your own voice in all of that. And I don't think the Lions did that effectively. And for the Eagles, I don't think they had any voice, quite frankly. It was just kind of like, can't we just run the ball? Isn't that what we can do? And it's like, no, you're struggling to do that. What else you got? And it's like, oh, geez, I don't know. What did Kellen Moore do last year? And it's like, okay, you know what? We're done. So I do think the transition for the Seahawks should be a lot more seamless. And I would anticipate this offense looking similar to how it did this past season. Because, let's be honest, it's not like this offense was this super high-powered, mind-blowing, oh my gosh, can you believe it? Kind of unit. It was just highly efficient. And yeah, in the first half of the season, they had some amazing throws and amazing plays and whatnot. But you didn't watch every single week and just go, oh my gosh, did you see that play called? It was just very smooth and very efficient. And when you have the foundation of that defense being relentless, physical, tough, and brutal, that's a winning formula. Think about some of their really big games. Think about the biggest game that they won in the Super Bowl. Was there really a moment where you were like, oh my God, Kubiak's a genius? I don't really recall many of those moments in that Super Bowl. I don't recall that in the wild card round or the divisional round. You had some of that a little bit in the NFC Championship game. So obviously, it's like you still needed it there. If anything, Clint Kubiak, to me, proved his worth mostly in that game more than anywhere else. It showed what a high-level coach can do and knowing when to call the right plays. There were times when it was like, okay, should you run here? There were moments, especially in that NFC Championship game, when I think a lot of people and a lot of coaches would have said, okay, let's run the ball, this and that. And I just remember thinking, no, you have to pass the ball here. You can't run. You're struggling. It's not about just keeping the clock moving. You got to convert a first down here. That is what you need to do. And they did it. And not everyone has the ability to make that call in that moment. Not everyone has the ability to do that. And they did it. So to me, something as little as that, outside of a magical play where you scheme someone wide open or whatever, sometimes even just being able to call that play in that moment holds a tremendous amount of weight that can kind of get lost in the shuffle of a game, of a season, of a coaching staff, etc. So I think for the Seahawks, those little moments can kind of continue. And to kind of drive that point home, that is absolutely positively where the Detroit Lions failed. Absolutely positively, that is where they failed. And that's why they were still successful against the lower tier teams. But then I quickly said, what happens when you play a better team? What happens when you play a better coaching staff? And that is absolutely where they struggled. Even against the Kansas City Chiefs and Spagnuolo, it was like, oh, this is night and day difference. Against Fangio and the Eagles, it was like, oh, this is night and day difference. And it's because of those tiny little moments, that right play call at the right moment. That is what often matters more than just being able to scheme guys open. I shouldn't say more, but those have a tremendous impact on whether you're going to be successful or not. So I just think those things are hard to predict. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Seattle Seahawks and their hire of their new offensive coordinator? How do you feel about this hire? How do you feel about the Seahawks going into this next season? We are only 6.5 months away from the season, so, countdown to September. And I wonder, I guess, will the Seahawks have opening day where they've been doing it, where they play on Thursday or Friday these last couple of years? I feel like both times it's been that both Super Bowl teams have at least played on one of those days. This past year, it was, the Eagles and the Cowboys and the Chargers and the Chiefs? And the year before that, it was the Chiefs and the Ravens, and then the Eagles and the Packers. So I guess you at least always get the Super Bowl winner featured. Who did the 49ers play, So I wonder if it'll be the Seahawks, at least maybe on the Thursday night. But we got plenty of time to figure that out. But let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get to some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.